In this very confusing and systematic world, I think there is only one thing that separates ordinary citizens from people in power: a title. A title that puts them in a position to decide. A title that can change the direction of where we are headed. A title that gives them the power to have a louder voice. And it is also a title that is often not used properly. They say growth requires repetition, but why is it that we can't seem to advance out of this habit of letting anyone slip in and grab a position in the government even if we have been fooled countless times already? A very pleasant day to you all. I am Russel Goli Cruz, currently a grade 9 student, and I am here to discuss 3 things that might help on what we can do about some of the problems given to us by democracy, which are incompetent leaders and the poor choices of the majority. First, voters should look at the bigger picture. They should not base their votes solely because of surnames, academic achievement, and financial status. I mean, all officials can choose to do bad or be corrupt. Then why just focus on one characteristic of a person? Think about how a candidate would fit or blend in the daily lives of all Filipinos and not just a specific group. They should also consider how the person running for a position can do something for the people instead of the citizens doing something for them. Moving on to the next one. Control your sweet tooth. Socrates had an analogy about democracy, which is the candy shop owners versus the doctors. One gives you this feeling of sweetness that covers your mouth with bliss, and the other just gifts you with bitter medicines and even restricts your diet. Now, who do we think is the good one? We may get a little confused and take a while to answer that question, and even to differentiate the two in real life, because of the fragrant smell of the 1,000 peso bills, their quirky dancing, and swaying voters with fancy promises that are too utopic to happen in such a short amount of time. But we should still remind ourselves to not be too infatuated by these and instead look for what's realistic and doable. There is nothing wrong with dreaming or wanting the best, but I think given the circumstances that we have, like poverty, health issues, and injustices, that filling our stomachs or being immune to diseases is much more important than what's palatable. Lastly, if we remember, we can apply. We are often fooled because we tend to forget. The mistakes of the past cannot be turned into good things, but we can always use that as our edge to be more aware of what can happen and have a clue on what to do in case it occurs again. And this statement can also be applied to every aspect of life, and as citizens, one thing to consider is to remember that if the politicians get to decide, we have the power to choose. We should remind ourselves that in times of abuse or oppression, we should act. We should remember not just our own experiences, but also the experience of others so that understanding a certain topic or subject can be easier. They say growth requires repetition. However, I think a life that mainly consists of repetition is not really good spent. So let us not grow by selling votes, randomly picking candidates, and electing underqualified politicians, especially that next year is the presidential election again. So, to sum it all up in this presentation, I said 3 things that can help in some of the problems we have regarding democracy. Look at the bigger picture, control your sweet tooth, and always try to remember. That is all. Thank you.